Hey, welcome to Dream Stories. We're back again.
It's so good to be back.
And I know, hey, look, I'm on a roll of opening up the podcast. I think entire last season, you opened the podcast instead of me.
Probably the majority of the time I did, but I think it's because the new dynamics. You know, we're now filming our podcast, not just having our, audio.
Yeah, it's true. So all this new technology.
Yeah, so I'm still, I would say stiff. I hate to say that, but it's true. It's just I'm finding my bearings. I like being relaxed, and I'm not uptight. It's just different.
Well, it is different. And by the way, for those of you watching who don't know or listening who don't know, you can also find us on YouTube now. We're on the Patria Ministries YouTube channel temporarily. I don't know how long we'll be there, but it has all the bells and whistles.
Whipples?
So we just, whipples, yes. So it's just good to start off there. So we're on the Patria Ministries YouTube channel. And we are premiering our podcast, if you haven't figured it out yet, on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. That's our goal. Everybody knows.
How are we doing with our goals
We
right
have
now?
met our goal every week this season.
Wow.
It's
Why
amazing.
haven't you been cracking the whip with me?
It is. It's true. It's been tough, but we've made it. We've made it every week this season, so it's good.
Yeah.
And we want to do one thing before we have a guest this week, good friend with us, but we want to do one thing before we do that. We did a contest that ended the year, and with everything that was going on, the first episode or two of 2021, we forgot to tell you the winner. So if you're watching now or listening now, you're going to want to know that our contest winner, who gets a copy of this book, Dream Stories, Unlocking Your Night Parables, the book I wrote about dreams, that winner is Kathleen Spratley.
Okay.
You are the winner.
Congratulations.
So, yes, congratulations. If you don't hear from us by Tuesday when this airs, because we've got a couple of days in the recording process, if you don't hear from us by the time this airs, just shoot us an email. Make sure that we have your contact information so that we can get the book out in the mail to you.
Yeah, and we love our listeners participating. When we put something out there and say, hey, we're going to have a contest, we love the participation. So sorry about the delay on that, but we want to get it to you. Yeah.
But it's good. It's good. So, well, we have a special guest this week, and as some people know, I do a quarterly dream interpretation class, mentoring class. We have a basic level and an advanced level, just helping people who have a little background in dream interpretation dig a little bit deeper, mentoring it. It's called DreamSIM, and actually our new term of DreamSIM begins today. The day this is being aired.
Oh, true.
Tuesday.
True.
What would it be? Tuesday, the 12th of January.
Okay.
And there's still time if people are interested. We talk about this today. If you're still interested in being a part of that Dream Sim class, we have a morning Central Time session at 8 a.m. No, it's a 7 a.m. Morning session on Tuesdays and a 6 p.m. session on Tuesdays.
And how do they do? How do they do that if they want to?
They can go out to mydreamstories.com, mydreamstories.com, and there is a link there that says classes are starting. You could also go to mydreamsim, SIM.com, and there will be a link there as well for registration. You can also email us if you can't find those. And we tell people if you get started within the first 10 days of the class, we really can catch you up and you're still good to go.
Right.
Yep. But our guest this week is from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where it's much colder than it is here, although it's pretty cold here.
It is, well, this week it has been.
It's been cold. Well, for us, it's cold.
Yes.
For Jody, it's like blink and it's gone. It's not even really cold.
Yeah,
but our guest this week is Jody Aboud, and she is from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and one of my DreamSIM mentoring students who was with me for 12 weeks last year. So we're glad to have you, Jody.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I was just, when you said it's cold up here, it's cold, but it is beautiful.
Oh, good.
The hoarfrost, I don't know if you know what hoarfrost is, HOAR, but it's been day after day of beautiful frosty trees.
And do you have a lot of snow on the ground right now?
Yeah, it's not not as much as sometimes. So,
Yeah.
but we want to keep it covered because it gets kind of ugly once once it starts melting.
When it starts melting, that's what everybody says.
We like it when it stays cold enough not to melt.
Yes,
good.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we had an interesting experience with a dream during the DreamSIM class. You shared a dream that came up in the midst of one of our topics. We were discussing light and color in our session, and we do, for those who don't know what DreamSIM is, we do a weekly recorded video lesson with some assignments, some practice activities and assignments, and then we have a weekly hour-long small group chat, video chat. Mm-hmm. And we were at the end of one of those chats, Jody, and you shared a dream. I think it may have been your husband's dream that just so fit into the color and light concept. It just seemed like perfect timing, and I think it makes a great dream to talk about. Would you mind sharing or talking about what happened, how that came about, and that dream that you had?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been just enjoyed the class so much. I recommend it to anyone who's even thinking about it. Let me say that if you are thinking about the class, that means that you should do it. If it even enters your imagination. And then I would, talk to my husband about what I'm learning, because it's good to try to explain what you're learning and not just leave it all in your brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So anyway, he just so happens that he had a dream. This is only one of 2 dreams he had all year that he thought was worth sharing with me. Mm. And he called, of course, as I was trained, I said, well, what would you call it? And so he called it hindered access. Mm. And he was the center of attention because there was no one else in the dream, not another person. And here it is. I was walking towards an off-white colored 2-story apartment building in a not so affluent part of town. He knew that people lived in it. Snow had been shoveled off the path to the house, and there were snowbanks on either side of the path. I knew that this was not my house, but I had legitimate or approved access to it. However, when I attempted to open the front door, it was locked. So I walked around the corner and tried to enter through the side door. That door was also locked, but I saw a red and white coated wire coming off the doorknob. As I followed the wire, parts of it were under the snow and parts of it were exposed. I was pulling on it, trying to discover where it led. This was an easy task. At the end of the wire, I discovered a pair of white earbuds attached to the end. They were laying on top of the snow, but not easily distinguished because they were white and so was the snow. I began examining how or why that kind of wire would be attached to earbuds. I did not put them on. Then I woke up.
Good. A really good dream, really simple dream. And one of the things I love is it's a short dream.
Well, you know what I love?
Yeah.
What's that?
She made him title it.
That's right.
I mean, if you can title your dream, usually you get a piece of the meaning of the dream.
You do.
It's really, really important, and it really does help because it really makes you look inside and go, what was I feeling at the moment?
It is. It's good. And we tell people, like Jody's talking about, we tell people in our classes and when we're teaching on dreams, just give it the title that comes to your mind. It doesn't have to be a perfect title, just something that stirs up. Oftentimes that's our Creator stirring in us a thought that helps unlock that dream. What was it, Jody? What was it about that dream? Because I sort of know, but for Lisa's sake and for our listeners, what was it about that dream that made you decide to share it with the class? Because it's one thing that it's only one of 2 dreams he thought important enough to tell you, but you then went to the process of saying, I need to share this and look deeper into it. Why do that?
Yeah, that was interesting because in the classes we just didn't even have time to share everyone's dreams, right? But so the only reason I brought it up is because you were teaching on color, and how God uses color, and He's the author of color and light, and so then you're talking color, and then so I'm thinking, oh well, this dream was all white except for the red wire, and so I thought, it was just such a juxtaposition of, you were basically going through the rainbow of colors, right? And white isn't in the rainbow of colors.
But, that's a cool thing that's important for people to understand. And this is one of the reasons I wanted you to share this dream. First of all, because people don't remember color in a dream doesn't mean it didn't have color in
Right.
it. That's one thing that's important. And for those of you who haven't heard me talk about it before, color is a really good indicator that you've had a dream that's coming from your Creator. Our Creator, God, is the author, the creator of color. Things that come from the light spiritual realm and the dark spiritual realm. Well, you can't really have color without light. And therefore, it's a good indicator that it's coming from the light spiritual realm or from our Creator. And what you asked was, can a dream that's basically all white, off-white house, white snow, white cable, the one little red cable, the white earbuds, everything's white, can that be considered a color dream? And interestingly, it's not about how much color, it's about the vibrance, the life of color that gives us the feel.
Pronounced.
The pronounced
something
nature.
that draws our attention to it. Now, didn't you say the building was an off-white color? So to me, that's creamy or, a cream color or something. So it caught his attention. And I think sometimes we even talk about the absence of color and how that's important. And we're going to get to the meaning of the dream, I'm sure.
Right.
But the fact that the only colors that stood out were the red that was attached to the earbuds, and it also had a white line with it as well, or a white cord with it as well, and then the off-white colored building, and then the white colored snow. But you also think about, was there absence of color? Because many times, like when I've had a dream, I've asked Michael, is this, is this a good dream, bad dream? I'm trying to decide, and it was maybe dusky, or, it seemed like it wasn't quite fully light. If you'll just walk through the dream or talk about it, it really does reveal things. So when you first started sharing the dream, I did not have a bad feeling at all. I mean, I didn't sense anything that was a negativity in the dream. And even though you would say entering a house, the prevention of getting into a house could be interpreted as being negative, the overall message is not negative.
Well, when you think back to the title, Jody, you gave, what was the title he gave it? Hindered access?
Yes, and yet my husband told me that his emotions in the dream, when I asked him, like a good student of Michael French, I said, well, what were your emotions?
It's very good, very important.
And he said, I felt very laid back. I was not anxious.
So good.
I was just kind of neutral.
That's so good.
Yeah, and so when you take that, hindered access sounds like there's maybe a little bit of a problem. Neutral emotion says things can't be too bad.
Right.
And this is not a lack of color. It's not an absence of color.
Right.
It is natural color. White
Right.
honestly, white light is what brings forth all color. The rainbow comes out of white light.
Right.
You pass white light through a spectrum instead of black light, and you get the rainbow that comes out of it. So in one sense, Jody, you've got this title and this feel in the dream that you can't get in, or that he can't get in, but then we have this white that's so totally in the opposite. It's actually all color is encompassed into white, that it does give you a good feel. It gives you a feel of purity, of some sort of holiness, that there's something important here, and the only color being in it being red, often that's a color of wisdom. You kind of get the feel there's something good here, even though you might apply some of the things we talk about sometimes and ask, is it good or not?
Yeah.
So what was the result of that? I'm going to let you share, because you were getting my feedback and the students' feedback, because one of the ways we do this in the class is we all talk about it. We all walk through it, and then I'll usually give a summary kind of an interpretation. But what were you getting, and how did it feel to get an because we know this dream hasn't come to pass yet. We usually talk about dreams that have come to pass. This dream is not, so we can't say we have 100% accurate interpretation. We can simply talk about the process of interpretation.
Right.
What did you hear from the class, and how did it affect you?
Yeah, I'm just going to comment on just something that came up as you you and Elisa were talking was that, if you have access and you have legitimate access to a building and it's locked, you'd think you wouldn't feel very laid back and
Right.
neutral about that. You'd think it would be frustrating, but he didn't feel that. So I think, well, that's kind of stirs up my curiosity. And so, yeah, I know that one of my dream interpretation friends thought that the building might be a church that he would have access to but not able to get in. And anyway, we're still holding that out there.
Mm-hmm.
But the feedback that I got from the class was that the dream speaks of a journey, a call to walk in holiness greater than others around you. Maybe because of the white snow, perhaps. Mm-hmm. You are journeying on a path which has been cleared, indicating that the Lord has already opened the way for you. So I thought that was really insightful because he didn't have a shovel, he didn't clear the path that was already open for him.
I love it.
And that another thought was to have access to this house. You must enter it the right way, which you can't just enter it because you want to. There's a proper way to enter it, a proper way to access it, which needs to be identified, right? And then Kurt, you already mentioned that the red could very well be representative of the wisdom that's going to be needed to access that house. And because of the wire holding earbuds, there would be something to listen to.
Yeah.
And the doors are closed right now, but someone felt that the Lord was going to give him a step-by-step process to enter. And that there was a spiritual meaning and a personal meaning for entering the house. And I think you might have said this, Michael, that God was about to speak to him more clearly than ever before.
Absolutely. I love that. And I was going to actually give the dream a shot. I didn't know you were going to be reading interpretation.
Oh, go for it anyway.
But I mean, it's along the lines, and I think the last one was probably the closest as to what I would say, which is, God has your husband on a journey, and then there's some places that he desires to go, that he knows that he has the right to go there, but access has been prevented. But God's going to give him the ability, the wisdom to hear from his creator God, to be able to access things in not the normal way, not the path that everyone else takes, but a different path. And so it's, going the back way is not a bad thing, seeking. And it really sounds like it's a journey for him. Something that he is seeking. He picked up the wires. He was pulling them, tugging them. How do they go? And the earbuds speak of having a greater increase of listening and hearing from his creator God. So it's a beautiful dream. I love it. And really what it says is it's a mission that he has to seek it out. He looked at the house and he thought, it doesn't belong to me, but I know I have access to it. So how do I get that access? And so really it's his journey with God.
I love it, Jody. And I have to tell you this, Jody. Lisa doesn't know anything about that dream at all. And there is an element of this dream that Jody has conversed with her husband and we talked about in class that would be something we just wouldn't want to talk about in a public way of what it might mean, what it could mean.
Right.
I mean, down the road, if it means that, maybe we talk about it, but wouldn't be the time to talk about it now. And what I love is, like Lisa's interpretation and the conversation with the class didn't mandate a specific interpretation. Speculation to possible specific meanings, but the general feel of that dream was there is a journey, the access is hindered presently, but wisdom, understanding is coming to be able to fulfill, access this calling, this purpose, this whatever it is. And that could apply in a lot of places. We don't have to have the absolute full meaning yet.
God's going to give us metaphors, I believe. Our Creator God is going to give us metaphors, especially when He's leading us to a place where we have not been before. God can get very specific and give us very specific signs and very specific markers to look for to say, oh, this is my journey. But sometimes I believe He leaves it a little bit open so that there's interpretation because, look, we're human. We make choices that may not be within a choice that maybe our Creator God would want us to make. And so there's got to be some room in there so that we can still hang on to that understanding or the metaphor that is there for us. So I love it that it may, and God will give us specific scenarios and say, this is about this has to do with your job, or this has to do with a future job, or this has to do with whatever it is, getting into politics, or, this has something to do with a certain specific. God can reveal that to someone who is interpreting a dream sometimes. But many times you don't know that until you're on the other side. So I would love to hear how it unfolds.
Down the road, yeah.
My husband is from another country and came here in America and met the Lord and got saved, Spirit-filled. And I know his heart is, for his community back across the ocean. And so we're just wondering, is that what it... And the cool thing is it could be more than one...
It could.
It could represent something he's doing in more than one place, right?
Yes.
And I love that. We talk about that sometimes. Dreams unfold. They open up with multiple. They don't have to be limited to a single understanding. And that's why we don't want to talk about this dream in a way of, oh, this is what the interpretation was, and this is what it means, and now we're just going to be locked in to fulfilling that interpretation. No, we want to be open and let that interpretation unfold. And yes, even if it gets very specific, we don't want to get locked in. We want to let it unfold.
Yeah, it's interesting. The reason now as you're talking, and I'm thinking this could be in more than one place, because if it were about something that was going to happen across the ocean, there would not be any snow in the picture, Sand, yes.
Yeah.
So, I'm just thinking, wow, maybe the fact that the feeling is maybe back home, but the snow is Minnesota, that indeed it could be some things going on a multiple layers.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I could just go down a rabbit trail now, and I'm not trying to say this is what it is, but if he truly feels like there's something for him to do back home, he could be doing it at a desk with earbuds in his ear on film, doing something to reach, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So he's still in the cold and the snow. It's just he's going about something a different way. He's listening, and he's got to get wisdom about how this happens, So I'm not trying to say
From a
that's how it's
distance.
going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely.
Because it's obvious that the listening is from a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I love the fact that the snow could mean it doesn't relate to home, where it would not be as much snow, but the snow could be completely metaphorical, and it still relates to something at home.
Sure, absolutely.
This is one of the reasons, I said I wanted to talk about this dream because of the white is color, but I also wanted to talk about this dream for this reason. We spend a lot of our time talking to people where we've seen the fruit of the interpretation. It's been interpreted. There's been a fulfillment of that interpretation. And now they're talking about how much that meant to have the interpretation. You guys and your husband are in the midst of the journey with this dream, recognizing how important it is. He wanted to talk to you about it, one of only two. It coming up in a time, he talks to you about it right when the discussion in your class is on color and light, the feel of the different things that people saw in the dream that stirred and sparked various things. And yet we don't yet know how it plays out naturally, what it actually happens. And people, if you're listening to this and watching this, it's important to recognize, Jody, you and your husband are on the journey. You don't lock yourself down to it has to be this. You wait.
Yeah.
You don't try and make something happen. You wait. It's interesting to me, your husband's reaction to the dream. How did he respond to it? Because you and I talked a little bit that some of the things that were suggested, he said, maybe, maybe not. But what was his general response to the dream?
To the interpretation or to just having the dream?
Yeah, to the interpretation side of it.
Yeah, he listened. I'm kind of pulling him along in some of these metaphor. I mean, he is from a part of the world where metaphors are very, very common, and much more they're much more comfortable with them than maybe some of us here in America. So he's like, he listens, and then he's just taking it all in, and he's very patient though.
I love it.
So
that's exactly what I wanted to hear you say.
He's going to wait and see.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
And we don't have to know. That's what I love. I love the fact that I love what you said. He's patient. That is so important when it comes to interpreting dreams, is to be patient, let it unfold, and not try and make it happen. We don't want to make it happen.
Oh, yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah,
Very
this
good.
isn't a directive dream. It doesn't tell you what to do.
No.
So,
Boy, don't you wish they all were, though? You just got an answer.
It would be nice, but it's good to be patient and to not push things. I think a lot of times in many communities, people try to force the dream to happen or insist that this dream fits in this situation when maybe it doesn't. So I love the fact that he's patient. That's good.
And I think it's we're getting close with our time here, but I think it's really cool to consider this dream from the avenue of recognizing it wasn't a directive dream. It was more of what we would call an encouraging dream, just stirring something and saying, keep pressing in. And he titled it, "The Access May Be Hindered, but that doesn't mean you're not supposed to have access."
Right.
I mean, it was a keep pressing in, be encouraged, be prepared to keep, and as he said, be patient, let it unfold.
So good.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jody, for joining
you're
us.
welcome.
We're so grateful that you would be on and share. And I assume your husband said it was okay to share his dreams. So we're very grateful.
I read it to him yesterday to make sure I've got it. And it was interesting. He tweaked a few details, even though we'd written it a while back. So it's amazing how alive it still is.
Isn't that
he
something?
correct things.
Yeah.
And that's another one of those things that tells you dreams are important.
Yeah.
Right.
You write it down.
I had thought he said it was a house, and he said, well, it's really more like a 2-story apartment building. I thought, well, that seems really different.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does.
interesting.
Yeah.
And it does. It brings some little shift to it. It doesn't change the overall picture of that dream, but it brings some shifts to some of the nuances, some of the little subtle details that might ultimately affirm its literal, specific interpretation. So it's good.
That's
Very,
really
very,
good.
very good. Well, I love it.
We'll let you know if we, whenever we have the, the revelation becomes
Please do.
clear.
Yeah,
Please
we'll
do.
definitely have to have you back when we see the complete fulfillment of that dream.
Yeah.
So it'd be good, or at least one of the fulfillments.
Yeah,
of it.
we love return visits, so that'd be awesome. So thank you for joining us.
Yep. So that's about it for our time.
Thank
I've got
you.
a couple of
All
things.
right.
Bless you.
Thank you
Hang
so
on
much.
for us and don't go anywhere. But for our listeners, let me cover just a couple of things for you guys who are watching. Please go out and like, share, and subscribe. Particularly on the YouTube channel, subscribe so you get notices about these things. But also that like button and that share button, they really help us get the word out about the podcast. We were down for a little while during COVID at the end of 2020. And so our listeners are just now catching on that we're back up and running. And you're liking, sharing, and subscribing puts those notices out there. It's the best, that word of mouth is the best way we could spread the word about the podcast. If you enjoy it, like it, share it, and subscribe with us as well. You can find us now on Facebook at My Dream Stories Podcast. You also will see on my personal page and the Michael B. French author page, the video will be shared on those places. Some other places you can see it. But we also have an Instagram account. I have a YouTube the YouTube account we mentioned, and the Twitter account, where you can keep up with what's going on with Dream Stories. And let me just remind you again, if you're interested in further training on dream interpretation, not too late to get involved. MyDreamSIM.com has a direct registration link, lets you get right into this term's classes for our dream mentoring class. It's a basic level class on Tuesdays. Our Tuesdays, I should say, is when our group video chat is, our live chat. We're very interactive with that. Some recorded lessons and things like that are out there. There's also a sample lesson out there that you can look at and just see what it's like if you're interested in it. But do jump on that this week if you're interested in that. With that, I think I've covered the bases that I need to, and I think we had a good time today.
Awesome. So since you always say, I open us, and you have been opening us and you close us, I'm going to say, keep dreaming.
Very good.